Today is going to be an awesome day. We're going to make some more dinner rolls to put in our freezer. We need to replace some pizza also. You know how I like to have frozen pizza at the ready. And last week I cooked my last frozen cinnamon rolls while the grandkids were over here. We need to make some more cinnamon rolls to put in our freezer. Myself and Tammy has decided that we're going to make our coordinator bread every month. And it's my turn to make some bread for our coordinator. So, Richard, bread's coming to you. Hello friends, welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. I am Vicki and you're with Grammy in the kitchen. So we're going to go ahead and get started on the cinnamon rolls. So let's go ahead and move over to the mixer and let's make some cinnamon rolls. So in the mixer I have 3 cups of water, 8.5 teaspoons of yeast, 2/3 cups of sugar. We let it sit in here till the yeast bloomed. I have 12 tablespoons of melted butter, 2 teaspoons of salt, 2 eggs beaten. And we're going to mix this and slowly add in a total of 9 cups of flour. We're going to go ahead and take this over to the island and hand knead it. So this is a double recipe. And each recipe will give you 12 cinnamon rolls. But I put this in 3 pans with 8 rolls in each pan. And when I know when the grandkids are coming over, I'll take one out of the freezer and let it do its second rise while it's thawing. And I'll bake it for about 20-25 minutes. And then I put a powdered sugar, milk, vanilla glaze on the top once it's cooled off a bit. Alright, so that is cinnamon rolls. So in this bowl, I'm adding a little bit of olive oil. I'm going to swish, 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 turn it. And I have it labeled cinnamon right there. We're going to let this do its first rise. Let's go ahead and get started making bread. So in the bowl I have 1 1/3 cups of water, a 1/3 cup of sugar, and 1 teaspoon of yeast. I have 1/8 of a cup or 2 tablespoons of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of salt. We're going to need a total of 4 cups of flour. I'm going to go ahead and add 2 now. Now we are making a cheese bread. So I have about 5.5 ounces of cheddar cheese. I'm going to go ahead and add that in there. Alright, let's go ahead and move this over to the island. A little bit of flour on our bench. Now we're going to go ahead and try to get all this cheese incorporated into this bread. So we're just going to hand knead it. Now this is going to make 2 1-pound loaves. Just take your time. Get it all incorporated. Going to want to push out, but we'll get it all in there eventually. See? Coming together. Beautiful. The dough is like, no! You give me too much cheese. That's okay, we'll get it in there. Just using the dough to mop up my station. Make sure we get all that cheese in there. I want you to take a peek. You can see the little chunks of cheese in there. Oh, so beautiful. Add some olive oil. We're going to swish, swish, and turn. Alright, so I don't know if you can see it, but it says cheese bread right there. Now we're going to let this do its first proof. And now we're going to go ahead and get started on the pizza dough. We have 3 cups of water, 4 teaspoons of yeast, and 1/4 cup of sugar. We're going to add 1/4 cup of olive oil, 4 teaspoons of salt, and then we're going to slowly mix in 4 cups of flour for a total of 8. Alright, we're going to take this over to the island and we're going to knead it. In the meantime, I need to fill my olive oil. So I went ahead and decided I'm going to do new bags. 1, I can't find the other bags. 2, I think it's time to get a new bag. So what I do is I just put a drizzle of olive oil. There we go. In each one of these bags. This is for the pizza. And in between use, I'll just keep these in the freezer for the next time we need to make pizzas. That way there's no waste of bags nor the oil. You do want to keep them in the freezer because oil will go rancid at room temperature once it's exposed to food for sure. So after we make your pizzas, I'll just stick all of these bags back in the freezer and we'll use them the next time we make pizza. Alright, we're just going to knead this just a bit. This is 4 frozen pizzas right here. And if you don't want to make frozen pizzas, you just want to make fresh dough when you're ready to have pizza, just divide this recipe into 4. But I like to have convenient food ready to go, so that's why we make frozen pizzas. And it's healthier than buying store-bought. Alright, so there's our nice cohesive ball. We're going to divide this into 4s. And we're just eyeballing it. That looks good. Now we're going to roll this into a dough ball. I'm going to put 1 in each bag with the oil. Make sure it's well coated. Now I'm going to put the dough balls in the refrigerator and let them rise. And now we're going to go ahead and get started on our dinner rolls. I have 2 cups of water, 4.5 teaspoons of yeast, 6 tablespoons of sugar. We're going to let that yeast bloom. Then we're going to add 1/4 cup of olive oil, 1.5 teaspoons of salt, 2 eggs beaten, and we're going to add anywhere between 6 and 7 cups of flour. It took 6.25 cups of flour, but we're going to take this over to the island and we're going to hand knead this. Now this is a double batch. And I like making a double batch because on days that I want to have dinner bread and I don't want to go through the hassle of making dinner bread each time, let it do its bulk rise. And then I'm going to divide this into smaller pieces, into dinner roll size, and then I'll freeze them. I'll flash freeze them where they're nice and hard, and then I'll put them in either a Ziploc bag or a vacuum sealed bag, and I'll put them right back into the freezer. That way when I want rolls, all I have to do is take them out of the freezer, let them thaw, and do its second rise, and then we have dinner bread. Because there's just some days you want dinner bread with your meal and you don't want to go through the hassle of doing all of this, and it's ready for us when we're ready. All right, I think it's coming together beautiful. Oh yeah, look at that. It's so gorgeous. If you haven't made your own bread, I suggest just get in the kitchen. You can either use my recipe or find one on the internet and just make bread. A little bit of olive oil. Swishy, swishy, swishy. And we'll let that do its rise. So let me get you up to date where we are. So this is our dinner rolls. The cinnamon rolls is rising absolutely beautiful. Our cheesy bread and our pizza dough is in the refrigerator to do its rise. So the yeast, I just keep in a gallon-sized Ziploc bag, and then I put it inside a reusable Ziploc bag. And I just keep this in my freezer. When I'm making bread, and I'm making a bunch of different breads, like today we've got our cinnamon rolls, our cheesy bread, our pizza dough, and our cinnamon rolls. When I'm doing things like that, whether I'm fresh baking them or putting them in the freezer, I don't bother washing my bowl in between use. So that saves me time in the kitchen just to do it all in one day, in one morning, and just get it out of the way. I'm not saying you have to go out there and you have to make all the breads homemade, but I want you to experiment. Pick one. Pick a pizza. Have some frozen pizzas ready for your kids. Cinnamon rolls. We're just letting them do it bulk rise. And then we're going to make the cinnamon rolls, put them in the pan, and stick those in the freezer for future use, especially when the grandkids come over. The dinner rolls, I double batch that so I could put them in portions and freeze those. So the next time I need dinner breads, all I got to go to the freezer, pull out a bag, and let it do its thawing and its second rise at the same time. And I have fresh dinner rolls that we made together. So just get in the kitchen, pick one or pick two of these items, and just start making them at home. Yes, it is time consuming, but knowing what's in our food that feeds and nourishes our families' bodies is important to me, and it should be important to you. Now we're going to go ahead and make the filling for our cinnamon rolls. So I have a cup of sugar. My original recipe was 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, but the grandkids said they wanted just a little bit more cinnamon, so it's actually 1.5 teaspoon of cinnamon. And I have 1 stick or 1/2 cup of melted butter. I want to mix that together very well. I have my 3 pans that I use for my cinnamon rolls. So I have 2 pie plates and a small square casserole dish. Alright, so let's get these all nice and buttered up. And we'll set these aside. Our cinnamon roll dough has risen beautiful. Oh, look at that. So gorgeous. This is just so satisfying to me. Like I said, this is actually 2 recipes. So I'm going to go ahead and divide this in half. Just eyeballing it. I'm going to set one aside and we're going to work on just one. So I'm just going to knead it just a bit. I'm going to put no flour down. We're just going to use the oil that was on our dough. I'm just stretching it out. It's probably between 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 inch thick. And if I had to guess, maybe 14 inches by 14 inches in a square. Oh, it's so beautiful. And my grandkids absolutely love these cinnamon rolls. So I always have to make sure I have it on hand. So we're going to put half of our brown sugar, butter, cinnamon mixture right on top. And again, eyeballing. Just take a little bit out. Okay, that looks good. And then we're just going to spread it. We're going to leave 1/2 an inch on the top side with no cinnamon on it so that it can have a place to stick when we roll it up. We're just going to spread this evenly all around. We want to make sure everybody gets a nice taste of brown sugar and some cinnamon, some butter with each bite. So I'm leaving about 1/2 of an inch right here with no cinnamon mixture. Now we're going to start from the end closest to me. We're just going to roll it up. Give it a little pull as we're doing it to make sure it's getting in there really tight. Then we're going to take the end that doesn't have no mixture on it and we're going to pull it. Get a nice beautiful seal. All right, bring it a little bit closer to us. I have one of the pans and we're going to put 8 in there, and like I said, this will make 12. So we're going to cut it in half. And I am using a serrated knife. And we're going to cut it in quarters. And then each quarter we're going to get 3. One pan. Now we're going to go ahead and work on the second dough. You can use a rolling pin if you like, but I find it just as easy to do with my hand. It's a very soft, pliable dough. This is the brown sugar we made the other day. My oldest grandson, Gabriel, when I make these, he's so cute. He goes, Grammy, hold up, wait a minute. I want to tell you which one I want. I can't just scoop out and just give him one. He's got to pick it. Because he wants the one with the most cinnamon and sugar, the biggest bun. I think it's so cute. And just like that, we have 3 pans of cinnamon rolls going in the freezer. So I'm going to wrap these up very well with some plastic wrap or saran wrap and stick these in the freezer. And when we're ready to cook these, we'll take them out of the freezer the night before, put them in the refrigerator, and then the next day we'll take them out of the refrigerator, we'll leave them on the counter until they're thawed and doubled in size from the rising, and then we'll bake them. We'll put it in a 350-degree oven for about 20 minutes or until they're golden brown. Then we'll let them cool down just a bit because we don't want them piping hot when we put our icing on it. And our icing is about 1/3 of a cup of powdered sugar, just a drizzle of milk just to get the consistency that you like, a splash of vanilla. Mix that all very well and then pour that on top of the cooked cinnamon rolls. Delicious. So please give this recipe a try. I'll leave a link below if you want to make one recipe, which is 12 rolls. But I like doubling them, and then I can put them in pans of 8 and I can have 3 pans in the freezer. But just check below and you'll see the recipe to make this recipe for 12. Okay, so let me go ahead and get you caught up. So the cinnamon rolls are made and they are in the freezer. Our cheesy bread is very slow at rising. Our dinner breads are rising. We're getting ready to work on those now. Our pizza dough it's still in the refrigerator. It still has a little bit more rising to do. If you saw the last time we made pizzas, we went ahead and shredded up 4 pounds of cheese. And by my calculations, it takes about 2 pounds for me to do 4 pizzas. So I went ahead and took the other 2 pounds of shredded cheese out of the freezer. And today we're actually going to be making homemade pizza sauce. I have no more cans of pizza sauce, and we're not buying anymore. We're going to make it at home. We have all the tomato products we need. We've got tomato sauce, diced tomatoes, roasted diced tomatoes, tomato paste. We have all the things. We have the seasoning, the Italian seasoning, oregano, basil, garlic powder, onion powder. We have everything we need. We're just going to make it ourselves. One less item to keep on the shelf. Now we're going to go ahead and get the dinner rolls shaped into small little dinner breads, and we're going to flash freeze those. Very productive day today. I'll leave a link below on the recipe for a single batch. But I like to do double batch because it doesn't take any more time to double this recipe. That way I can have more dinner rolls in the freezer. But feel free to just use one recipe, freeze them or cook them fresh, or double it like I am and put them in the freezer. A single batch will give you 12 dinner rolls, but I like to make mine a little bit smaller, and I'll actually get 16. So at a double batch, I should get 32. So I have 3 pounds and 10 ounces. So we're just going to say 1 3/4 ounces. I have a baking sheet lined with parchment paper set to the side. Measuring between 1 5/8 to 1 7/8. But I do want it less than 2 ounces. You do not have to take these steps that I am doing. Just whatever you want to do. But just get in the kitchen and just experiment. I'm just saying, just get in there and have fun. If you have small kids, get them involved. You got grandkids? Have them over one day and just get in the kitchen and just play. This will be fun for you, educational for them. My calculation is off by that much, so I'm just going to add a little bit to each one until we run out of dough. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to make these into little dough balls. Seal up that bottom end, tuck it in, seal side down on air parchment paper. I'm not letting them touch so they don't freeze together. The dinner rolls we made last week, and this is the same recipe. I just froze them, thawed them out, let them rise and thaw at the same time, and then I baked them. But that's what we have left over from last week. And that was my last bag in the freezer. And I was like, oh, no, 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 no. We have got to get some dinner rolls in the freezer. And that's the size they're going to be when they're cooked. If you make the 12, or in this case 24 with the double batch, they're going to be a tad bit bigger. And I'd rather have small dinner rolls than a large dinner roll. But you make them however you want. Just get in there and make them. Got a second pan going now. All right, I'm just going to sit here and finish this up. And bring you back when we're ready to put these in the freezer. Okay, so 33 dinner breads. Such an odd number, but that's okay. I'm gonna put these in the freezer and let them freeze, and then we'll put them in vacuum seal bags or Ziploc bags. Now we're gonna go ahead and get our cheesy bread in the bread pan. I have 2 of these 1-pound loaves, and I need to put oil in here, so we're going to use coconut oil. We're also going to oil the lids. And because I'm giving this as a gift, I do want to weigh it to make sure we get it right down the middle. All right, so it's 2 pounds and 8 ounces. So we're going to make them each 1 pound and 4 ounces. Okay, 1 pound and 4 ounces each. We're just going to work one at a time. So we're just going to flatten this out. Using the little rolling pin, or you can use a rolling pin of your choice. Just give it a nice smooth edge. We're going to fold it in thirds, and then we're going to fold it in thirds. And now we're going to roll it up very tight. Any cheese that falls off, we're going to pick it up. We're going to tuck in our ends. And that's one. We're going to do the same thing to the other one. Fold it into thirds, and fold it into thirds again. We're going to roll it up. Tuck in the ends. And the other end. Mop up any cheese that falls off. And into the second pan. Now we're going to let them sit here and do its second rise. I'm using the same saran wrap. And once the dough rises till it gets to the top of the saran wrap, then we'll put these in the oven and we will bake those. But it is a little chilly today, and I do have the AC on also. So it's a little chilly in the house. So I'm actually going to put them in the oven under the proof setting. Bread has risen, as you can tell. I'm going to go ahead and put the lids on. And we're going to go ahead and bake these for 30 minutes, and then we're going to check the internal temperature, and the internal temperature needs to be 210 degrees. The oven set on 375 degrees, and I'll bring y'all right back since we pull this out of the oven. Okay, so the bread came out of the oven. It took 40 minutes. Oh, that smells so good. And you can just see the crispy, cheesy chunks that's sitting on the top. Oh my goodness. Alright, so we're going to leave these here, let them cool off. Then we'll dump them. Go ahead and take these out of the pan. Alright, we're going to leave them here and let them cool off completely before we slice it. But can you see that? Oh, smells delicious. Our breads have cooled off. Let's go ahead and get it sliced. I know you can't see it, but there's some cheese chunks in there. Oh, it's gorgeous. The cutting board is moving on me, so I'm going to put this on a towel. I think my Azure coordinator is going to love this. And the other one I am going to take to North Carolina when we go visit our daughter and my son-in-law, my son, my daughter-in-law, and my brand new grandson. I know a lot of groups talk about the one thing they hate about homemade bread is the slicing. And I don't find it that difficult. No, they're not perfect, but this is homemade bread. And it doesn't have to be perfect. That's one bread. And just like that, we have 3 pans of cinnamon rolls in the freezer. We have 4 vacuum sealed bags of dinner breads. We have 2 loaves of cheddar bread. And we have air pizza dough. It's getting late, and I'm just going to do this tomorrow, but I will bring you along because we're going to make a homemade pizza sauce. But we'll do pizzas tomorrow. So I just want to say thank you for hanging out with me today. Taking time out of your day to spend time with me in the kitchen. I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Y'all are a blessing to my heart. You're a blessing to my channel. So if you don't mind, hit that like button. And while you're at it, go ahead and subscribe. We would love to have you part of the Grammy family. So until next time, y'all have a blessed day. Bye, friends.